The only thing that sets me apart is I have a different mental syntax. And the reason why I have that mental syntax is because I've paid a lot of people a lot of money to download the way that they think so I can then help myself and then help others. Because I'm a firm believer that you can only heal people as much as you're willing to heal yourself. You can only go deep as much as you're willing to go deep in yourself, and you can lead people as much as you are willing to be led. And I'm willing to heal myself very deeply so I can turn around and heal others. And that's what I tend to do. That's my intent.
Brother, you just lit the burn on fire. Welcome back to another episode of The Burn. I am Ben Newman, and you become accustomed to this every single week. We're going to bring you a story of an athlete, an entertainer, a celebrity, a speaker, an author, somebody who has recognized in their life that there's this underlying burn that ignites their why and their purpose that then causes them to be disciplined in their action on the days that they don't want to do it, and especially after they win. Today's guest is a very, very special guest. I've been wanting to have him on the show for so long. We recently had a mutual friend, Jordan Kemper, connect us via text. I figure out who's on the text, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And so Nick Santonastasso and I have now had the opportunity to become friends. We're going to work on some things together. He may even share some opportunities where he can make an impact on your life. And I'm telling you right now, you are about to feel a special fire. So Nick, welcome to The Burn.
Ben, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm ready to bring some value to the people.
Well, I think about your story, and I think about adversity. I think about challenge. And when you take a look at your story, it's pretty amazing what you've done, Nick. And I know the word confidence, which we're going to get to, is so important to you. But before we get there, when did you realize that you would embrace any type of adversity, regardless of the fact that you are only one of 4 people in the world that has Hanhart syndrome? So what's your first memory of saying, I don't care about this challenge and adversity, because it is amazing how you approach life and everything that you take on. When did you first realize I am going to attack? I'm not going to wait on the sidelines?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was so early that I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know I was attacking adversity. And what I mean by that is my parents raised me in a very unique way where they would put my clothes in front of me and tell me to figure it out. Or they would put my food in front of me and tell me to figure it out. And at an early age, they wired my brain to be solution-oriented, but also at an early age, I became a great friend to failure. And I had an empowering relationship with failure. And so I knew that everything that I was going to do, whether it was getting on the couch, trying to feed myself, trying to dress myself, trying to get in the car, trying to get in the skateboard, you name it, that I was going to fall a bunch of times. And so very early on, I knew that adversity or failure was a part of the journey. And I came up with a little quote: if failure is a friend, you'll learn to the end. If failure is a foe, you'll never grow. And most people don't start the journey. They don't start the journey because what if I fail? What are people going to think of me? What are my friends going to think of me? What am I going to think of me? And so everybody listening right now, you can ask yourself, have I been running away from failure? Do I want this perfect streak, this winning streak, or do I just want to fail faster so I can get feedback and I can succeed faster? And so I think I attacked I was born into adversity. The moment I came out of the womb, right, I had to figure out all these different things. And so I feel like I was programmed to attack adversity at an early age before I even knew what it was. And I became very familiar with falling on my face.
You know, it's so interesting because when we're young, you only know what you know. And sometimes you just choose to do something rather than you get to the point where you're an adult and you've heard so many no's, and then we figure out why we don't want to do it. And there's an amazing story, if you could share it, where your dad goes out to the garage, and it was like one of these first times where you end up basically accomplishing what you wanted to accomplish. And all of a sudden your dad starts hearing this banging when he had left you in the living room. And all of a sudden he found that you weren't where you were when he left you there. So why don't you tell us that? Because that, to me, like, it put a smile on my face. I'm like, Nick is so amazing that it was like, it's almost been ingrained in him. This is just what I do. And now hearing the way your parents raised you is pretty fascinating, because oftentimes we protect our children rather than allowing our children to experience what they need. So if you could go there, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, 100%. So before the story, my dad was very intentional about like not putting loops on doors and on the drawers and not putting stepping stools in places, because he was like, if I make his home this comfy, adaptable place, he's going to go out in the real world. He's going to get smacked in the face because not everything is adapted to him. The world's not going to adapt to him. He's got to adapt to the world. And so I think my dad specifically made it that way. But I think the story that you're referring to was, I was probably on the ground and my dad had left me in the kitchen or left me somewhere, and he heard some banging, and next thing you know, I was on the table and I was dancing. And he's like, what is going on over here? And what I did was I slid the chair out, I handstand on top of the chair, and then I handstand on top of the table, and here I was dancing and shaking my booty on the table. And that was probably because my oldest sister was a gymnast. She was a gymnast, and so she had a keen eye to be like, hey, you can flip onto this, and you can use your body this way. And so she was probably fuel to my fire and why I was handstanding onto the table and dancing. And so, but that was everything for my life, right? It's just like talking about burn, right? That burning desire. I feel like most of my success came down to a few things. The first thing was I had a burning desire to be independent. I hated people doing things for me. And I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but I was like, I knew at a very early age, middle school and high school, I was like, I don't want to take money from my parents. I want to work a regular job. I want to have my own gas money, right? Like, when are girls going to think financial freedom is cool? Like, I'm this weird, geeky kid in middle school and high school, but I had this burning desire to be independent because my whole life, everybody did stuff for me, right? And so I wanted to be independent, but also, Ben, was very interesting. And this is the pattern that shows up in most high achievers. And those that are listening, you could probably see yourself in me. The things that I built came from me trying to fill a void of love me. Am I enough? Is this good enough? Please love me. Please accept me. And I'm trying to seek this validation from the external world, when in reality, I got this inner child who's struggling, this inner child who has trauma, this inner child who doesn't know how to deal with it. So he's going to build big and bad things so he can make this facade or make this castle around this hurt little boy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is so true. It is so true. But see, what I think you found, which is so important, is that when you battle that and you create the mental freedom to recognize I don't need that, with that comes extreme confidence. And one of the things when you study psychology and human behavior and people that are successful, they have this extreme confidence. And I know this is a fundamental belief for you, and I don't even have to say it. People can hear it and see it. And certainly you watch your videos. I mean, you are just amazing. Like, your speaking is incredible, just the way that you entertain, the way that you position things for people. And when I watch you, Nick, and when I've watched you on my friends' podcasts and shows, I mean, I've been watching for years. That's why I was so excited to have this interview take place, is that confidence. I just think, like, this guy has this amazing, extreme confidence. So how important is confidence?
Yeah, confidence is the foundation. It's the foundation to everything. I always say you'll never make more than you think you're worth. That's the pattern. You know, you have people who they lose the weight and then they find more of it. Or they have a really good month of money and then they blow it on things that they don't need. Or they get in the relationship with the perfect person and then so they find themselves pushing them away and self-sabotaging the relationship because they don't think they're worth it. And if you're listening right now and you're like, well, I don't struggle with confidence, I can tell you this. If you find yourself day to day putting terrible foods in your body, the reason why you put terrible foods in your body is because you don't think you're worth the six-pack. Right? If you find yourself settling just for the 40K or 50K a year, you're capped at that because that's what your belief is. And so what we need to understand moving into confidence is that your brain is the best detective in the world. And based on your beliefs, your brain is always going to try to find evidence to prove yourself right. And y'all love being right. We love being right as humans. And so if you walk around saying, I'm not a confident person, your brain's going to find the evidence of all the unconfident moments to prove that you're not a confident person. Confidence is very, very, very simple. And oftentimes simple is simple, but it's not easy. And so what confidence is really, and Ed talks about this, our mutual friend Ed, he talks about following through in the things that you say you're going to do. You have too many people out here making promises. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start the business. I'm going to start the podcast. I'm going to go up to the girl. We make all these promises and then we break them. And what we don't realize is on a subconscious level, we're diminishing the way that we view ourselves. And so now, Ben, I always say we have the boy who cried breakthrough, or the girl who cried financial freedom, or the boy who cried I'm going to get in shape. It's like you do a whole lot of yapping, but you're not taking action. And so you can't even believe in yourself because you've lied to yourself so many times. And if you can't believe in yourself, look around. No one believes in you because you've been talking all this talk, but there ain't no walking, right? And so if you want to build confidence and self-worth, I would say the first thing you do is you paint this picture of like Ben 2.0 or Nick 2.0. It's like, what is the highest version of myself? Okay, what is he doing? What is his occupation? How is he serving? How is she leading? How is she showing up in her relationships? Now that you have this picture of your 2.0 self, what are their habits? What are their rituals? What are their non-negotiables? Because the truth is that 2.0 version of yourself is doing things that you're not currently doing. And you're going to get some wisdom. You're going to get some answers. And so you can paint the vision for your 2.0 self and say, what habits or rituals would allow me to become the person that's worthy of the success? Because oftentimes we have it backwards. It's like, hey, I want this house. What do I need to do to get the house? What do I need to sell? In reality, you got to ask the question of like, who do I need to become in order to attract all this wealth, the houses, cars, whatever you want, and to be able to sustain it? Does that make sense? And so I think confidence comes down to your habits or rituals and the things that you do, like Ben said, even when you don't want to do them.
This is so key. I mean, these are the fundamentals and things that I've coached on for darn near 20 years. And what I've seen some of the highest performers in the world, how they've driven success. And I think the key here, and Nick really hammered it, it's not just painting the vision. If you don't take action, the vision stands no chance. And sometimes, Nick, I don't know if you feel this way, people hear what they want to hear. So they listen to Nick and go, oh, I'll paint a vision. I'll say this is who I want to become. But then they choose to not become disciplined in the things you have to do every day in order to become that person. And then they come to Nick and go, your coaching program doesn't work. I don't believe, like, you told me I paint this vision. You're like, wait a second. I also told you that you have to be disciplined. And when you are disciplined, it drives the confidence. And then here's another point that I know you believe in. When you have the vision and then you're disciplined, it creates confidence and you actually learn to conquer and win your mind. That happens through the action, which then drives higher levels of success and fulfillment. And I know that you coach to that. I know that you believe in that. So take us there.
100%, because the bottom line is, if you're feeling uncertain or you're feeling unconfident, most of the time it's a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of expertise. It's a lack of competence. And so I always say, right, competence breeds confidence, and confidence, you can transfer that confidence into the world if you're confident, right? And so one of the greatest things that I've done was be hyper-focused on my weaknesses. Right. And I hear a lot of like, focus on your strengths, but I'm trying to pinpoint my weaknesses and obliterate them. I'm trying to pinpoint the things that I lack, and I'm trying to become an expert in them. And so, I'll give you a great example. When I started speaking, I was 21 years old and I was getting paid nothing, right? Nothing. My first paid speaking engagement was $1,500. But the more competence I got, the more confidence I had, and the higher my fee went up because I was more of the authority. Because I dug my well so deep with knowledge, right? And so for those that are out there that like want more confidence and want more certainty, want more self-worth, one of the greatest things I've done is dig my well so deep on my niche or my authority, on the brain, to the point where I can talk about things for 50 hours and you never run out of it. And people are like, damn, this guy must be the expert because he always has an answer for everything I'm talking about. And so that knowledge actually filled the void for me. I felt certain, I felt confident. I firmly believe is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And patterns show up in all different areas of your life. And so immediately I know if someone's falling short on their fitness, they probably fall short in their business. They probably fall short in their relationships. They probably fall short with managing things. You can see the patterns on people when you're aware of them. One of the greatest things that I've done to build that self-worth and confidence was to find out what is my expertise, where do I want to be an authority, and just dig my well so deep where no one can outbattle me on my expertise.
And what happens is really you're sharing these breakthroughs that you've had. And I know this is a fundamental belief that you have, and I think it's important for people to hear this. You've had breakthroughs when you get to the next level. And if you really pay attention, like you want to keep digging that well, not, hey, I know enough now. I'm going to keep learning. 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 And then you garner this tremendous amount of respect. And earlier you mentioned a lot of people, they seek this recognition from others. They see, rather than putting in the work that actually causes you to receive the recognition, because you're fighting your passions, doing the work, and then people realize he's going to make a difference. So those breakthroughs, they come at these different levels, but then it leads to this level of respect from people, correct?
100% respect from other people, but most importantly, you're the guy. There comes a time where you do so much work in the dark, you do so much work in private to the point where you start to serve. And this is a breakthrough that I'm having currently in my life at 26, is when I go into a room, I'm not serving from a place of like, I need to prove you. I'm gonna prove that I'm the guy, I'm the authority, right? I'm coming from this kind of like immature masculine place. Now I step on stage and I come from a place of like, I know I'm the guy. Watch what we're gonna do for an hour, and you're gonna find out I'm the guy very quickly. And I say that because that only came from hours and hours and hours of learning and repetition, right? And I always tell people, like, when you look up to Ben, when you look up to Nick, like the only thing that's standing in between you and the person that you want to become is time, and they probably failed more than you have. And they probably learned a lot more knowledge than you have. And so that's what I would say is, if you're feeling uncertain, if you're feeling unconfident, it's most likely your lack of preparation. And I'm going to say that in the most polite way to you.
It's interesting, you tie that together with what you mentioned earlier, which is kind of focusing on these weaknesses when most people just want to focus on their strengths. Don't you find that, like, with the right burn, with the right motivation, right, that ignites the why and the purpose, causes you to be disciplined, and you desire to take more action, right? So for you, at some point, then doesn't mean you never had these limited beliefs, but you stared at the limited beliefs and said, I'm going to force myself upon these limited beliefs with action in order to grow, correct?
100%, 100%. And I would say that I fight limiting beliefs every single day, right? The very belief that we think we mastered something is the very belief that's holding us back from the next level of life. And oftentimes we think the work is done. And Ben, I don't know if you've noticed this, but most people who are immersed in personal development think they don't need the work anymore. We kind of like get to this point where like, oh, I've done enough mindset work and I've done enough limiting beliefs and I'm already aware of that. And so, yeah, I would agree that the first thing that I think is really important is awareness, just being awareness of the beliefs, and then constantly overriding them, constantly stepping into them. But you talked about that burning desire, that burning fire that leads to the change. I think that's another great way to call leverage. And we talked about that, right? Like, my life was filled with pain. Girls didn't like me, wasn't an athlete, wanted to become an athlete, couldn't work a regular job. And so I had all of this pain that I used to leverage. Right? The reason why I started bodybuilding was because of girls. The reason why I started wrestling was because of girls. It wasn't because I wanted to inspire the world. I was a 16, 17-year-old boy who was like, I got to figure out this whole girl situation. And that was enough pain and leverage for me to make the shift. And so, understanding human behavior is humans will change for two reasons, right? We'll change for pain or we'll change for pleasure. But humans will always run away from pain faster than we'll run towards pleasure. And so you'll notice that's why we don't start going to the gym until the doctor says you're obese. You don't leave the relationship until someone hits you or it gets emotionally abusive. Or you don't start that business until you hit rock bottom in your 9 to 5 and you hit a pain threshold. And so I think once you realize that everything that's happening in your life, especially the pain, could be a catapult to the next level, you can leverage everything that's happening into your life. The good, the bad, the ugly, use it all as fuel. But I would challenge you and say, if you're listening to this right now, you don't need to wait for pain to change. People think changing your life is this big, overwhelming thing. When in reality, changing your life is an accumulation of small decisions that you make every single day. Your life changes in a moment of decision. When you decide to put down the beer or put down the cake and go to the gym, that's a decision. You made a decision. When you decide to start the podcast, it's in a moment of decision. And that's what we call compounding progress. These are an accumulation of small 2-millimeter shifts that when you look back 30, 60, 90 days, you're like, I made massive progress, but it was just an accumulation of small decisions that you made.
It's so fascinating hearing you say this because, you mentioned that a lot of times people who study or they become part of, self-improvement, they reach a point, I got it, I don't need to learn anymore. And I'm so committed to, I read books every day. I still have 2 coaches. I just joined Erwin McManus's M4 Mastermind, which I cannot wait for that to start. And I look at my continued commitment, and I always say this humbly, but over the last 20 years, my resume goes up against anybody's in terms of a commitment to the disciplines and a standard, working with some of the highest performers in the world, from some of the top coaches who get advice from me. People never even know they get the advice, Hall of Famers. And I'm still committed. Nick, I feel like when I surround myself with other people that push you and challenge you, like, we're never finished.
Mm.
And so I'd love to finish because you said it, but I want you to hammer this home, right? I'm committed to that. It doesn't matter how many championship rings I help a team win or how much revenue you add to somebody's top line or bottom line. It's a never finished mentality that actually causes you to win more in life. And so if you could just hammer home that point and maybe share some of the things that you're now doing
Yeah.
in your life with your company that's really helping others reach that next level and embrace that never finished mindset, I'd love to take it there.
100%. One of my core mottos or core beliefs that I put into my students in the most polite way is that progress equals happiness. And I learned this from Tony, right? I've been grateful enough to be mentored and coached by some of the greatest in the world, like yourself. And so humans love the feeling of progress. And your darkest and lowest energy days come from the days where you feel stagnant, where you feel like you're moving backwards. And most people, they have a highway to hell and a dirt road to happiness. What that means is but with humans, you make it really, really difficult to feel great about yourself, and you make it really easy to feel terrible about yourself. Let's change the rules. And so how you change the rules is in my life specifically, I create non-negotiables, right? Non-negotiables that every single day, despite how my business goes, despite how relationships go, despite how I'm feeling that day, if I get these things done, at least I know I moved the needle forward in one area or another. And that makes me feel good. It's progress. And so, for example, like 45 minutes of movement, 30 minutes of aligned training, like these are my two core non-negotiables that when I do these things, I feel like I did great. I was aligned. I was intentional about the day. And so if you're feeling down or if you're feeling stuck, look around. Can I go to the gym? Can I start eating healthier? Can I take the stairs? Like, Nick doesn't have legs and he works out more than me. Like, maybe I should probably put it into gear here. What are things that you have control of that you can start making a shift on? Because the truth is, there's two worlds. You got this external world and you have the internal world. The external world you have influence over and it has influence over you, but the only thing that you have control over is your internal world, the people that you surround yourself with, the content that you consume, and where your focus is and where your actions are. That's like the foundation, is mastering the internal world. And I can tell you this, we are in an economic downturn. We are in an uncertain time. We are in a winter, whatever you want to call it. And those that master their internal world will create certainty in uncertain times. And so that's what I want to do with people. We think our issue is the strategy. We think it's the mechanics. And I'll tell you this, how many of you listening right now have been to an event or heard Ben give you all these strategies? We can lay the mental syntax on how to make money, but if your psychology doesn't align, you'll never take action on it, right? And so that's what I want to do, is help people elevate their psychology, elevate people's community, and elevate their accountability and their consistency, because that's what I believe are the three pillars that created my success. I can't get here alone at 26 years old. The only reason why I'm here is because I had great coaches, really rich coaches that are smarter and richer than me. I had a community of people who are like-minded, who weren't toxic, that wanted me to boast, wanted me to share my wins, wanted to challenge me, right? And I had consistency. I had someone holding me accountable. For the past 3 or 4 years, all of my coaching has been very high ticket, right? Ben, similar to you, it's like what we do is like we work with very high level individuals. You got to pay me a lot of money for my time. And what I realized, I had a breakthrough, an aha moment, Ben, where I was like, the people that really need me can't afford me. And that sucked. I was like, man, like I've been gypping these people. Like the people that really need the psychology, they don't have the money yet. They need help with the psychology. They need help with the beliefs, and they're kind of stuck. And I was like, how can I make myself accessible to everyone? And so what I did, Ben, was I took all of my high ticket coaching stuff, all of my content, my trainings, my millionaire mentors, you name it. And I was like, I'm going to give it to you for $97 a month. And people are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, not everyone can afford $10, $20, $30,000 for coaching sessions. But I know the most dangerous information is the information you don't know. And if I can get you in here, your life will never be the same. I don't even care if you sign up for $97, take all my information, learn it, make millions of dollars, and then refund the $97. I don't care. I'm more focused on the impact now. I'm more focused on the customer journey. This is a breakthrough I'm having. You're seeing a shift in Nick. I'm less money focused and I'm more value focused. I'm more substance focused. I'm more customer journey focused. And I think with that, I want to build an army of, I said before the call, 10,000 people in my community where I'm like, hey, Ben's coming in. Hey, I got another millionaire mentor coming in. Hey, we're doing a free networking event in Florida where I live. Like, come kick it with me. And so that's what I have is my inner circle where it's based on coaching, community, and consistency. Literally $97 a month or $797 for the year. But they can get a free trial. The free trial is at Mind ofavictor.com, and they can just get their free trial. And the truth is like, I wasn't born with all the resources, right? I don't have limbs. You're taller than me, stronger than me. The only thing that sets me apart is I have a different mental syntax. And the reason why I have that mental syntax is because I've paid a lot of people a lot of money to download the way that they think, so I can then help myself and then help others. Because I'm a firm believer that you can only heal people as much as you're willing to heal yourself. You can only go deep as much as you're willing to go deep in yourself, and you can lead people as much as you are willing to be led. And I'm willing to heal myself very deeply so I can turn around and heal others. And that's what I tend to do. That's my intent.
Brother, you just lit the burn on fire.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
I knew this was going to happen. Even more so, our ability to connect prior to, I knew this was going to happen. I can't thank you enough on behalf of all of our listeners and all the lives that you touch. Not that you need to hear this, but I'm going to tell you, don't ever stop. Don't ever let this burn go out. Don't ever let this burning desire go out, Nick, because the world needs you to help people embrace how to think, to drive this confidence, to show up in their lives different. You are a gift to the world, brother. And I'm so appreciative that finally our worlds have united to do this. And we're going to make sure that we continue to push Nick and all of his offerings, as well as just to announce it publicly. Everybody loved our Mental Toughness Forum last year. It was one of the top online events of the year. We're doing it again, August 1st through the 5th. Can't even sign up for it yet. We'll be able to release that information soon, but Nick is going to be coming on the Mental Toughness Forum. That has me fired up. So Nick, I appreciate you. I can't wait to have impact with you. I'm just going to call it right now. You're probably going to see Nick on a boot camp stage in the future for one of our events. There's just so much synergy here and belief in Nick. I appreciate you.
Likewise, brother. I appreciate coming on here, and I'll end with this for those that are listening. Listen, some of you are on your last straw here. You know, you're on your last straw. You're really struggling. You're pushing through, and you're like, man, I can't get a break. And I just wanted to share that your blessing has already been prepared for you. You're just getting prepared for your blessing. This is all just what's going to cultivate you, so you can enjoy that blessing. But you got to go through the trials and tribulations, so you can become the person that's worthy of sustaining the success and having the success. And so whatever you're going through, it's worth it. It's either working on you or it's working for you.
Well, that is the mic drop for the bird. So all I'm going to say after that is thank you again. All of the information and details, hit it in the caption, hit it in the notes to stay connected with Nick. And please share this with somebody who might be on that last straw, because people need it and people need you. We'll see you next week for the burn.